High in the Carpathian Mountains, nestled between jagged peaks and shrouded in perpetual mist, lies Avernus Lake. For centuries, the lake has been a subject of whispered legends and fearful glances. Locals say that the waters are bottomless and that those who venture too close never return. Its allure, however, remains irresistible to adventurers, scholars, and the curious. Dr. Emily Harding, a professor of folklore at Oxford University, had spent years studying myths and legends from around the world. When she stumbled upon the tale of Avernus Lake in an old, dusty manuscript, her curiosity was piqued. The manuscript, written by an unknown author in the 17th century, spoke of strange occurrences, mysterious disappearances, and a haunting presence that lurked beneath the water's surface. Driven by an insatiable desire to uncover the truth, Dr. Harding assembled a team of experts to accompany her on an expedition to Avernus Lake. The team included Dr. Richard Green, a renowned geologist, Sarah Whitman, an experienced diver and marine biologist, and Jack Thompson, a seasoned outdoorsman and survivalist. Together, they set out on a journey to unravel the mystery that had plagued the region for centuries. The journey to Avernus Lake was arduous. The team traveled by plane, train, and finally, a rugged off-road vehicle that could navigate the treacherous mountain terrain. As they ascended higher into the mountains, the air grew colder and the landscape became more desolate. The trees grew sparse, and the ground was covered in a thick layer of snow, despite it being late summer. After days of travel, they arrived at the small village of Lupenny, the last bastion of civilization before the lake. The villagers were wary of the outsiders, casting suspicious glances and muttering among themselves. Dr. Harding attempted to engage them in conversation, hoping to gather more information about the lake, but the villagers were tight-lipped and uncooperative. "It's as if they're afraid to speak of it," Dr. Harding observed, frustration tinging her voice. "They probably are," Jack replied. "Legends like this can hold a lot of power over people. Fear is a strong motivator." Undeterred, the team pressed on, hiring a local guide named Ion to lead them to the lake. Ion was an elderly man with weathered features and a haunted look in his eyes. He spoke little but agreed to take them to the lake for a hefty sum. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the mountains, the team set up camp near the edge of the lake. The air was eerily still, and a thick fog began to roll in, obscuring the lake's surface. The only sound was the occasional crackle of the campfire and the distant hoot of an owl. Dr. Harding sat by the fire, poring over the manuscript once more. The words seemed to come alive in the flickering firelight, recounting tales of ghostly apparitions and strange lights that danced on the water's surface. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, but she dismissed it as paranoia. "We should take turns keeping watch tonight," Jack suggested, his eyes scanning the darkness. "Just in case." Sarah and Richard nodded in agreement, and they established a watch rotation for the night. As the others retired to their tents, Jack took the first watch, his rifle resting across his lap. Hours passed, and the night grew colder. Jack's breath formed white clouds in the air, and he shivered despite his heavy coat. Just as he was about to wake Sarah for her turn, he heard a faint, melodic sound drifting through the fog. It was a haunting tune, like a lullaby sung by an unseen voice. Jack stood, straining to hear the source of the music. He took a few cautious steps toward the lake, peering into the thick fog. The music grew louder, more insistent, and he felt an inexplicable urge to follow it. Just as he was about to step closer, a hand grabbed his shoulder. "Jack, what are you doing?" Sarah's voice was sharp with concern. He shook his head, the spell broken. I heard something." "Music." Sarah frowned, glancing toward the lake. "I don't hear anything. Come on, let's get back to the fire." Reluctantly, Jack allowed Sarah to lead him back to the campfire. The music had stopped, leaving only an eerie silence in its wake. The following morning, the team awoke to a clear, crisp day. The fog had lifted, revealing the lake in all its mysterious beauty. The water was a deep, dark blue, almost black, and seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. The surrounding mountains cast long shadows over the surface, adding to the lake's enigmatic allure. "Today, we start our investigation," Dr. Harding announced, her excitement palpable. "We'll begin with a survey of the lake and its surroundings. Sarah, you and I will take the boat and collect water samples. Richard and Jack, you explore the shoreline and take geological readings. Ion, their guide, refused to accompany them any further. "I have brought you to the lake," he said, his voice trembling. "But I will go no closer. Beware the spirits that dwell here." With that ominous warning, Ion turned and began the long trek back to the village, leaving the team to their task. Dr. Harding and Sarah boarded the small inflatable boat they had brought with them, paddling out onto the lake. The water was unnaturally still, and an oppressive silence hung in the air. As they reached the center of the lake, Sarah leaned over the side, lowering a sample container into the water. "There's something off about this place," Sarah murmured, her eyes scanning the dark depths below. "The water feels wrong." Dr. Harding nodded in agreement, her own unease growing. "Let's collect the samples and get back to shore. We can analyze them tonight." Meanwhile, Richard and Jack walked the perimeter of the lake, taking notes and collecting rock samples. As they rounded a bend, they came upon an old, dilapidated cabin partially hidden by overgrown vegetation. Curious, they approached the structure. The cabin was in a state of disrepair, its windows shattered and its door hanging off its hinges. Inside, they found a dusty journal on a rotting table. Richard carefully opened the journal, revealing pages filled with frantic, scribbled notes. "Listen to this," Richard said, reading aloud. "The lake calls to me. I hear its voice in my dreams, urging me to come closer. I cannot resist. I must go to the depths." Jack frowned. "Sounds like the ramblings of someone who spent too much time out here alone." "Maybe," Richard replied, a note of doubt in his voice. "But what if there's something more to it?" As dusk fell, the team reconvened at their camp, sharing their findings. Dr. Harding and Sarah's water samples revealed high levels of an unknown substance, while Richard and Jack's discovery of the journal added a new layer of intrigue to the mystery. "This place is definitely strange," Dr. Harding admitted, "but we need more evidence to understand what's really going on here." That night, as they sat around the campfire, the haunting music Jack had heard the previous night returned. This time, all 4 team members heard it, a melodic, otherworldly tune that seemed to emanate from the lake itself. "It's coming from the water," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Dr. Harding stood, her curiosity outweighing her fear. "We need to record this. It could be a key piece of evidence." As they set up their recording equipment, the music grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, the water's surface began to ripple, and a ghostly figure emerged, its form shimmering in the moonlight. The figure was that of a woman, her face pale and her eyes empty. She hovered above the water, her lips moving in time with the music. The team watched in stunned silence, unable to look away. "Who are you?" Dr. Harding called out, her voice trembling. The figure's eyes locked onto Dr. Harding, and she spoke in a hollow, echoing voice. "I am Elara, guardian of Avernus. Beware the depths, for they hold secrets that should remain hidden." With that cryptic warning, the figure dissolved into mist, leaving the team shaken and bewildered. The following day, the team gathered to discuss their next steps. The encounter with Elara had only deepened their resolve to uncover the truth about Avernus Lake. "We need to go deeper," Dr. Harding said, her determination unwavering. "There must be something beneath the surface that explains all of this." Sarah, the experienced diver, volunteered to explore the depths. "I'll take the submersible drone and see what I can find. If there's anything down there, we'll capture it on video." With the drone prepared, Sarah donned her diving gear and entered the water. The cold, dark depths enveloped her as she descended, the drone's lights cutting through the inky blackness. The rest of the team watched anxiously from the shore, monitoring the drone's feed. At first, the lake floor appeared barren, a desolate expanse of silt and rock. But as Sarah ventured deeper, she began to notice strange, unnatural formations. Pillars of stone, carved. Sarah continued to guide the submersible drone deeper into the abyss, her breath steady despite the mounting tension. The stone pillars she had noticed grew more numerous and intricately carved, suggesting an ancient civilization once thrived at the lake's bottom. As the drone's light swept over the lake bed, they revealed what appeared to be ruins, crumbling walls, shattered statues, and long-forgotten structures. "These look like the remnants of an ancient city," Sarah whispered into her communicator. "This is incredible. Can you make out any details on the carvings?" Dr. Harding's voice crackled back with excitement. Sarah maneuvered the drone closer to one of the pillars, the camera focusing on the intricate designs. They depicted scenes of people worshipping a large, shadowy figure emerging from the water. a figure that bore an unsettling resemblance to the ghostly woman they had encountered the night before. "I've seen enough," Sarah said, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm bringing the drone back up." Just as she turned the drone around, a sudden, powerful current surged through the water, dragging the drone deeper into the abyss. Sarah struggled against the pull, but it was too strong. The drone's feed flickered, showing glimpses of a massive, gaping maw lined with razor-sharp teeth before the screen went black. "Sarah, get out of there now," Jack shouted, his voice laced with panic. Sarah kicked her way to the surface, her heart pounding. She broke through the water, gasping for air, and was quickly pulled onto the boat by Jack and Richard. "We lost the drone," she said, her voice trembling. "But I saw something down there, something huge." Back at camp, the team reviewed the footage from the drone before it was lost. The ancient city, the carvings, and the monstrous figure all pointed to a disturbing conclusion. "I believe we've stumbled upon a long-lost civilization," Dr. Harding said, her eyes wide with realization. "A civilization that worshipped some kind of ancient, aquatic entity. But what happened to them?" Richard asked, his face pale. "Why did they disappear?" "Maybe they didn't disappear," Jack suggested. "Maybe they were consumed." Dr. Harding nodded slowly. "It's possible. The entity they worshipped might still be down there, waiting." The team spent the rest of the day analyzing their findings and preparing for another dive. They knew they had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As night fell, the team made their final preparations. This time, Sarah would not go alone. Jack, equipped with a harpoon gun, would accompany her to provide protection against whatever lurked in the depths. With their gear secured, they descended into the dark waters once more. The lake seemed even more oppressive and foreboding than before, the weight of centuries of fear pressing down on them. They reached the ruins quickly, the eerie silence only broken by the sound of their breathing and the occasional creak of their equipment. They moved cautiously, aware of the danger that lurked nearby. As they approached the largest structure, a temple-like building adorned with intricate carvings, they felt a sudden shift in the water. The temperature dropped, and a deep, rumbling growl echoed through the depths. "Stay close," Jack whispered, his grip tightening on the harpoon gun. They entered the temple, the drone's lights revealing a massive altar at its center. The carvings depicted ritualistic sacrifices, with a shadowy figure looming over them, its maw open wide. "This must be where they performed their rituals," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. But what were they sacrificing to? As if in answer, the ground beneath them trembled, and a massive form began to rise from the shadows. The creature was enormous, its scales glistening in the dim light. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and its mouth opened to reveal rows of jagged teeth. Jack fired the harpoon, but it bounced harmlessly off the creature's scales. The beast roared, the sound reverberating through the water and shaking the temple walls. "Run!" Sarah screamed, grabbing Jack's arm and pulling him toward the exit. They swam as fast as they could, the creature in hot pursuit. The water churned around them, the beast's massive form creating powerful currents that threatened to drag them back. Just as they reached the temple's entrance, a bright light pierced the darkness. Dr. Harding and Richard had set up a powerful floodlight on the boat, its beam cutting through the water and disorienting the creature. "Over here," Dr. Harding shouted, waving her arms. Sarah and Jack swam toward the light, the creature snapping at their heels. They reached the boat and scrambled aboard, the beast's massive head breaking the surface just as they pulled away. The creature roared in frustration, its eyes blazing with fury. It thrashed in the water, sending waves crashing against the boat, but it couldn't reach them. As they sped toward the shore, the beast slowly sank back into the depths, its eyes never leaving them. The team returned to the village, shaken but alive. They knew they had discovered something extraordinary, but they also understood the danger that still lurked beneath Avernus Lake. Dr. Harding documented their findings, publishing a detailed report on the ancient civilization and the creature that still haunted the lake. The world was captivated by their story, but many remained skeptical. Years passed, and the legend of Avernus Lake grew. Despite the team's warnings, adventurers and thrill-seekers continued to visit the lake, drawn by the promise of uncovering its secrets. Dr. Harding, Sarah, Richard, and Jack never returned to Avernus Lake. They had faced the darkness and survived, but they knew better than to tempt fate again. The village of Lupenny slowly became a destination for those fascinated by the unknown. Tourists flocked to the lake, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary creature or to experience the haunting music that still echoed through the mist. The villagers, once fearful and secretive, began to embrace their town's newfound fame. They told stories of the brave explorers who had uncovered the lake's secrets and warned visitors to respect the ancient powers that still dwelled in the depths. And so, the legend of Avernus Lake lived on, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden in the darkest corners of the world. The truth of what lurked beneath the water's surface remained a closely guarded secret, known only to those who had dared to face the depths and lived to tell the tale.